Alright, it's time to do one of the Pokemon games I played as a kid, Pokemon Colosseum. And while the release date is away, I decided to get it early since I have an occasion coming up on the 18th, and I have something going on the 26th. But yeah, Pokemon Colosseum is one of my lists ever since. It is one of the more Pokemon Gamecube games I know, and then later on with XD Gale of Darkness. I'll talk about briefly at the end. Anyways, let's get to my review for Pokemon Colosseum for the 20th year mark. I won't say too much of the story, but this game is noticeably different than the standard mainline Pokemon games. There are no gyms and there are no Pokemon League. The trainer does have a name by default, Wes. He moves through various towns and other locations. You do battle trainers and doing quests. Bottom line, the aspects of Colosseum are almost the same as the mainline games, minus the League and gyms. Also, this does not feature wild encounters. So the question is, what do you do in this Pokemon game to catch the Pokemon? Well, other trainers have this unique species of Pokemon called Shadow Pokemon, in which you can actually snag them by catching. I'll talk about the feature in a second. So yeah, Colosseum is where the game is almost trying to be the mainline games, but I do like this game. First off, I like that the game is a counterpart to the Stadium games. In battles, the models of the Pokemon are the same as in Stadium 1 and 2. My guess is Colosseum wanted to have a similar role in which Generation 3 was out at the time. Now let's get to the gameplay. The overworld area features visual detail and fixed camera angles, that is being a comparison to Final Fantasy games. As a kid, I didn't mind it, I just wanted to have a fun RPG game. The worlds you go to are alright for the most part. I know the region called Ore is heavily inspired by the city of Phoenix, Arizona, and while I like industrial design worlds, some of the worlds are a little underwhelming. There are some good ones like the underground with buildings around it. I like those kind of worlds. The battles are the same as the mainline games, but they keep a double battle all throughout the game, which is understandable since Ruby and Sapphire was new and they carried it over to Colosseum. Now let's talk about Shadow Pokemon feature, because this is the new aspect. It was a clever idea to keep a Pokemon game to have the catching, but you're snagging a trainer's Pokemon. And I don't mean all the Pokemon they have, I mean the Shadow Pokemon they have. For example, when a trainer sends out a Shadow Pokemon, the girl that goes on your journey examines that's a Shadow Pokemon, and you do catch it with a Pokeball. And while you can't catch every Pokemon in this game, it was a great nod to catch some. However, there are issues with Shadow Pokemon. If you catch them and put them on your team, they have purple gauge that will drain during battle, and they will like the player. Once the gauge is empty, they can purify the Pokemon to a shrine. That's the only way to have good Pokemon on a team. Sometimes they disobey with the Hyper mode, so watch out for that. Shadow Pokemon was a great feature to be added, and it is a shame that this and XD kept those features. Later on, Pokemon Go would later use the Shadow Pokemon and Purify when you catch them from Team Rocket, but at least it's there. Besides the story mode, there are battle modes like the quick battle mode where you can battle CPU trainers. There's a single player battle mode to compete at Colosseums, and the gang battle mode where you let you play 4 players from the Game Boy Advance games. Besides the counterpart to the Stadium games, the Shadow Pokemon feature, and the world building, the graphics were pretty good at the time, though they were influenced more of the manga than the established Pokemon convention. I like that the character starts with Espeon and Umbreon. That's a cool team. The models on the Generation 3 Pokemon do look cool back in the day. The music has a variety of some, like battle music, world music, and even music heavily created from Ruby and Sapphire, like the gym leader music and trainer music. If I had to pick a favorite music from Colosseum, probably the admin theme. Always remember the team organization, boss battling, and even having legendary beasts on their team. Those were hard battles as a kid, and even struggling catching the legendary beasts by breaking out of the ball. But I gotta talk about the final trainer battle, and even the post game. Just giving a bit of spoilers for anyone that hasn't played it. The final boss is Evids, and his design is like wacky and over the top. He's crazy, but his team is like a beast, like Slacking, and even having Shadow Tyranitar. After Evids gets defeated, you beat the game, which I did beat it. In the post-game, there's a few shadow Pokemon you have to catch and the last trainer to battle during post-game, and that's a character in disguise. Yeah, that's who you fight. However, I didn't make it to that part. Oh well, at least I beat the game. All in all, this is a good Pokemon game. I know it's not a mainline game, but it does have some elements. I do miss the Gamecube days where I beat trainers and complete everything I wanted. Now, do I like this game over XD Gale of Darkness? Well, some things from Colosseum did make it to XD Gale of Darkness. I believe that game is better than Colosseum, and I will one day do a review on that game next year to see what some things improved and see some things that were from Colosseum. But yeah, that was all for the review of Pokemon Colosseum, an oldie but a goodie on the Gamecube. Now let's move on to the next video, which I have something exciting. I will see you all in the next one.